violent, abusive, with no conscious care or understanding for the horse.
I don't understand why anyone would want to do that to an animal. I do think it's cruel.
The potential for injury, life-threatening injury, permanently crippling injury, is very, very high. I just don't think this race really should be held.
Omak Stampede, are you ready for the suicide race?
The gunshot goes off, and you see the horses running at full gallop, and then they take that first step or leap. And they land, all their weight, they land on their front legs. Normally, a horse carries about 60% of their weight on their front legs. Here's a situation where about 100% is on their front legs, and they're hyperextended. They're way, way out there, and the leg is not built to take that concussion on that hyperextension. So there's an opportunity there for much damage right up through. It's like jumping off of a bleacher here and just landing stiff-legged rather than cushioning yourself with your knees. And then they come down the hill in one mass, and as you can see, the hill narrows with that line of trees, and the fence line actually causes it to funnel down. And now you have these 17 horses all in one spot at the same time. And this is called, around town here, that's called the crash scene, because they know it's going to happen. The horses are going to crash into one another. And there's going to be injuries just for the mere fact of a 1,000-pound animal hitting into another 1,000-pound animal. They lose their balance because of that, and then some will actually somersault and tumble. Those that are fortunate enough to make it down to the bottom uninjured will continue across the river. This year the river is rather shallow, so they're running through the water, which we all know that's difficult in itself. And they enter a slight incline here, back to full gallop, whipping, kicking, and then into the stadium. Those horses that successfully make the first night go on to race the second night and so forth on until Sunday afternoon when they race during the day.
Well, as they come galloping into the arena, it's hard to see any major problems, but once they calm down, there was a couple horses at least. One horse in particular had a non-weight bearing lameness in the left front leg, meaning he just was hobbled out on 3 legs. And afterwards I saw another horse that had a similar lameness in the hind leg. I'd suspect a pretty significant injury, maybe a crippling injury. And I think there were 17 horses that started the first night. On this last night, the second night, they only had, I think, 11 that ran. So there were 6 horses, obviously, that were eliminated, I assume, from physical injuries of some sort. So that statistic, I think, is very telling of the potential injury that occurs in this race.
I don't think it's a good thing for horses. I think it's dangerous, and I think that was proven last year when 3 horses died in one race. I mean, fortunately this year so far we haven't had any deaths. There's been enough of them, and having watched the race up close, I can certainly see that was not coincidence that those injuries happened. That they're a consequence of the way this race is conducted, the steepness of the hill, the speed with which the horses are going over the hill, the crowding at the bottom of the hill, many, many factors involved.
The violence, the concussion, the trauma, setting up all potential for all injuries, from mental, spine, neurology, leg injury, trauma, fractures, and death potential, okay? And not every ride sets up a potential of death, okay, for rider as well.
Historically, and documented from 1983 to present, there have been 15 deaths during the course of this race. There's been untold and unreported injuries that have occurred, and they could be deaths that have occurred after the race as these horses left the grounds here. So the statistics that we do know of is 15 deaths since 1983. There have been no deaths this year, and we're thankful there have been no deaths. That doesn't change the fact that this is asking horses to go beyond their capabilities, putting them in a very dangerous situation, and it's inhumane and cruel. The primary goal of the Humane Society of the United States is to encourage the Colville tribe, the people of Omak City, the supporters and sponsors of the rodeo, as well as the suicide race over here, is to stop this continuous animal cruelty and abuse of these horses on this hill. They're just a majestic animal that deserves more than this.